Given your experience in the past as the deputy trade representative, how do you interpret what President Trump is saying about trade? 1 minute saying he's willing to delay until after the election next year, and the next minute saying those talks are going well.
The problem we have here is that the trade talks are not transparent. We have only two data points. One is the economic realities underlying the trade dispute, and the other is Trump's comments. So the economic realities have not changed over the past few days. Both sides want to reach an agreement focused on agriculture and tariffs, and we are going to get that kind of an agreement. In the meantime, however, I interpret Trump's comments publicly as basically just haggling with China. He is always unscripted. He frequently does not stick to the truth, and he sticks to several familiar themes. Yesterday, for example, the theme of his comments was that China wants the deal more than we do, and he riffed into the comments about maybe no deal until after the election. Today, he only had time for one sentence comment, which was more mainstream. So I don't think that we should read too much into these comments. We will get a deal, I think, for phase one, either by December 15th or within the next few weeks, next few months. As for a phase two deal, I think that's much less likely because the Chinese have made it clear they're not all that eager to talk about the core issues in this trade dispute, all of which are in that phase two package.
Regardless of whether the markets should read too much into it, they clearly do put stock in what the president has to say because we see his comments moving the markets here. Mark, what's your prediction about what happens and how much the president moves the markets until a trade deal is or is not done?
Well, my sense is the markets are actually moving a little bit less. I know that we had the biggest move that we've seen in the last few days after we had some more negative comments from the president and a bounce back today. But we had seen much bigger moves when we had similar comments a few weeks ago. So I think the market's getting a little more used to the fact that this is the way the game is played. This is the art of the deal. And I think that the trade negotiations will be contentious right up until the moment that a deal is reached, and we're probably not really going to see it coming.
Jeff, you seem to indicate your inability to see our way towards a comprehensive deal. I'd like you to give me a little bit more sense as to why you think that would be so difficult.
I think that the fundamentals for a phase one deal are all in place, but China, I think, is really just playing Trump out for time. They do not want to talk really about forced technology transfer. They don't want to talk about subsidies or other things that would require them to do business in a different way. They do not want to address the problem of abuses of official discretion that fundamentally discriminate against American firms. Those are the really tough issues in the trade negotiation, and there is no sign that they're willing to address them. So I think that they are frustrated with Trump's style of negotiating. They're not sure that they could actually get a deal or get it to stick, and therefore they're willing to push it perhaps beyond the election. And I think if they do that, that would be a mistake because the Democrats are going to be tougher. The Democrats are going to go back to the Trans-Pacific Partnership and maybe raise other human rights concerns and put that into the mix. I think that it's in the Chinese best interest to try to cut something sooner rather than later.
Do you think we get the December 15th tariffs put in place?
I think we do not. Because it is fundamentally not in Trump's interest to start taxing pure consumer goods. So for domestic reasons, I think Trump will not do that. Trump's focus is always domestic and short term, and I think he will find a way to kick that can down the road.
Mark, I know you disagree with that, though. You think that tariffs are going into effect, don't you?
I think there's a pretty good chance they're going to go into effect, but that they'll be reversed fairly quickly. And this is the way that we can roll back some of the tariffs in order to get to an agreement so that we raise them and then lower them. I don't think that they'll stay in effect. I don't think that they'll have any lasting impact. But I do think that time's just too short to get a deal before December 15th. And I don't think, it's possible that they push a delay, but that weakens Trump's hand if he does that. So I think they'll probably go through, they'll take effect, and then they'll roll them back. And that way they can say, hey, we agreed to reduce tariffs in order to get a deal.
And the U.S. companies, we're hearing, have really played up the importance of the intellectual property protection. And yet you think a lot of them have already factored in ways around that.
Well, if you look at what's been happening in manufacturing in the U.S., we've been adding manufacturing jobs. Even amidst this manufacturing slowdown, we're adding manufacturing jobs. There's 470,000 manufacturing job openings today, which is a near record. China's been losing manufacturing jobs, and a lot of companies have been saying if we've got production in China that's got intellectual property at risk, we're going to pull that back. We're either going to put it in the U.S. because the labor cost differential is not what it used to be. Folks are trying to avoid political risk. They want to have more control over their supply chains. And China's beginning to feel this. I think China needs a deal more than they're letting on. I think that they really do need to address these issues. And I think that they're a little put off by the way that Trump's gone about it. But that doesn't take away from the fact that they need a deal more than people realize.
Yeah.